Hey everyone, I hope you had an amazing week last week. If you were looking for a video for me, you won't find it. I'm sorry. I was sick, but I am getting better and I'm feeling a lot better. So that's good. And you may know that last week I got to play with JJ Weeks at the Museum of the Bible. That was super awesome, and if you know me well, then you know that I love the Museum of the Bible, so that was very exciting for me to get to play on their beautiful stage. But this week, I really wanted to talk to you guys about the importance of waiting on God's timing. And so to start, I'd like to read from John 14, verses 13 and 14. And that says, "And I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. You may ask me for anything in my name, and I will do it." This is an awesome verse, right? I love it. I think it talks about how loving and giving the Father is, and He has such a giving heart towards us that if we ask for anything in alignment with His will, in His name, then He will give that to us. But what if we ask for something that we are not ready to receive? And I think to some degree that God definitely protects us from ourselves, which I am very grateful for because Lord knows I need it. But I can get really impatient sometimes, and something He's promised me, I want it now instead of waiting for it and praying about it first. And a story that comes to my mind that talks about this is the story that Jesus tells of the prodigal son who asks for his father's inheritance before his father has died. And when I think about this story, what comes to mind for me is his motivation. And that motivation was selfishness and greed. And so I thought about myself and I say, well, what's my motivation for asking for these promises from the Lord early? Is it because I want to see God's will in my life? Or is it because I'm selfish or being greedy and just want it right now? Do I want the vending machine God, or do I want the actual relationship? Am I really just seeking after God's will for my life? Another thing that comes to mind for me is also asking for things that we shouldn't have even had to begin with. And the story that comes to mind for this is the story of how the Israelites asked the Lord for a king. And they had looked around, they saw all the other nations had appointed a king, an earthly king, and they wanted one too. And so they kept asking the Lord, and the Lord reminded them, you have me, they have the God of the universe, why would they even want a king? But for some reason they did, and they kept asking God. They kept asking God. They kept asking, kept asking, kept asking, kept asking, until finally one day He was like, okay, fine. Here is a king. Take your king. Have your king. And God used it for good. But it wasn't initially what they were supposed to have. And so, I just think, do I really want God's will in my life, or do I want my will when I'm asking the Lord for things repetitively? Do they line up with what He wants for my life? Or is it just what I want? Am I really seeking Him for Him? And it says in the Bible that there is a season for everything, there is a time for everything. And kind of going back to earlier about asking for things before you're ready to receive them, I think that we need to wait on God's timing for those things. We need to ask Him, when do you want this to happen? What season am I in right now? And are you willing to just get before God and seek Him for Him. If these gifts, if these promises were to never come, would you still seek Him? Would you still worship Him and praise Him? Or do you just want the gifts? So that's my challenge to myself and to you guys this week. So if that resonates with you, if that speaks to you, then subscribe, and there's more videos like this every week. But if you liked it, hit that like button, turn on notifications, and please leave a comment below because I love reading your comments. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next week.